اهلا بيكم اعزائنا المشاهدين، حلقه جديده من برنامج اسال مع ميرا. النهارده يوم مميز جدا جدا لان كل القلق اللي احنا قلقانينه من القوانين الجديده والاقتصاد هنعرفها ونتعلمها النهارده. I am very honored to have the incredible guest with me today, Lila Pence, and she is highly respected and well known financial expert. Also, she's the president of Wealth Pence Management. Also, we have Mr. Dryden Pence III, and he is the chief investment officer in Pence Wealth Management. Their insights have been featured on some of the biggest media platforms, and I'm truly grateful to have them here today. Thank you both for joining me.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Lila. Everyone loves you, and thank you for everything you do for the community. Mr. Pence, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So I want to start with you, Lila, and I want to ask you, can you share with us what led to your great success? So we need to learn a lot from you, and you're always generous giving all the information for us.
Thank you so much, Mira. You know, success is something that takes a long time, and it takes hard work. You know, if someone tells you to do 100%, you have to work 200% to exceed that success, to get to that next level. You have to work hard. But for me, it was really, in the beginning, I have great parent support. I have great family support. Family support is something that's also very important. You know, my mother, my husband, my sisters, my nieces, my nephews, my cousin.
Wow.
You know, everyone, you need to have very good family support to get to that next level. But then the most important thing is to have a great team around you. Nothing good happens by yourself.
Yes.
You have to have a good team, and you have to hire talented teams that things that you can't do, you have to find people that know how to do it better and not be afraid of that. But what it comes down to, most of all, having beside a good education and hard work, is to have a really what we call a servant's heart. You have to truly want to help people from the bottom of your heart without expecting something back, because there's many people who are highly educated and many people that work hard, but it has to be in your DNA to really love what you do and to want to serve people and do it right.
Amazing.
And this is something that I instill and I require from all my team members. And it's something that you really have to do. You have to go out of your way to help and serve people. And this is why you were saying earlier about the community and so forth. You know, I feel like if God has blessed you, you need to bless others.
I mean.
And you need, you know, it's not something that comes natural to a lot of people, but it should. I know for me, it's a big reason to my success is to have a servant's heart and to serve others. And then being surrounded by a great team and a great husband as well.
Of course. God bless both of you. That's amazing. Always you give us very inspiring messages, so thank you so much. So even though I introduced you, and you're very well known anyway, but actually I have Sarah Pence little video, so she will introduce her parents as well. So ممكن المخرج يجيب لنا الفيديو please? Okay. عشان سارة مش موجودة, I have to bring her like little video always.
Oh, really?
We all adore Sarah.
So do we.
So do we, sure.
100%, yes. Okay, go ahead.
She's the #1 female advisor in all of Southern California and is also within the top female financial advisors within the entirety of the United States. Oh, wow. Colonel Dryden Pence III is a renowned economist and the Chief Investment Officer at Pence Wealth Management. He is also a retired Army colonel who has served the United States diligently as a commander of AFRICOM and an expert in psychological warfare for both AFRICOM and Central Command. My amazing parents, Leyla and Dryden Pence. Yes, yes.
Thank you. So you, sir, you are an ex-army, right? Okay, and how this help you to do your job right now?
Yeah, so I'm a retired Army colonel, and I was an intelligence officer, and also special operations and psychological warfare. So as you come up as an economist, I have a degree in economics from Harvard, and then combine that with
Yes,
the military.
you're Harvard, of course.
You actually kind of bring together the hard science of economics with understanding the psychology of consumers, the marketplace, customers, all of those kind of things, to kind of give an understanding of what's going to happen in markets, what's going to happen in consumer behavior, and how that turns into economic activity. So bringing those backgrounds together have been very helpful as we've pursued on stock portfolios or understand the economy.
Perfect. Yes.
So, and it gives me also a different perspective on a lot of what goes on in the world. And I spend a lot of time in CENTCOM, which is in the Middle East, AFRICOM, which is in Africa, but more importantly, in a global assignment. And so I think the military background kind of gives you an idea of really what's going on in the world around us, and that translates to a lot of what we do in our economic policies and our investment thesis.
Also, being in the Army is something you have to be very disciplined.
Of
In
course.
investing, you have to have discipline, because investing is very emotional. People tend to invest with their emotions. They react to
would say that.
emotional, where his background really helps set priorities and set discipline so that you take some of the emotions out of investing. You can't completely eliminate it, but you could take some of it. And I believe that has helped him become very, very successful in what we do, because we have great discipline in our approach.
I frequently ask people, I say, do you know any irrational people? And typically, everyone's a little
Everyone,
irrational. So,
yes.
the point is sometimes when people look at what's going on in the world, they overreact. And that irrationality feeds into markets, and it feeds into decisions and things like that. Sometimes you just got to take a step back, step away from the keyboard, kind of figure out what's really going on, and you find out that a lot of times people overreact to whatever the news of the day is,
Yes.
and they shouldn't.
And that's why we have to have financial advisors, and you just couldn't be your financial advisor. You have to hire someone understand. So يعني دايما ما نفكرش هي بتقول ان احنا بنفكر بقلبنا، ما ينفعش، لازم نفكر بعقلنا. So it's very important to have a financial advisor. So I have a very important question. I've
Sure.
been thinking about this question. So I know like when President Trump was elected, we all were very excited. We thought we will have an immediate financial and economic prosperity. But right now, people seem to be very concerned after the tariff and everything. So can you tell me what's your take on that, please?
Sure. Well, first of all, on the overall economic prosperity, we're still living through a period of time of tremendous stimulus in the economy left over from COVID, and we really have a good fundamental basis of our economy because of all the stimulus that's there. More people are working today, making more money than ever before in the history of the country. We've grown the labor force right now. More people are making more money than ever before. We have over 159 million people with jobs. That's 6.7 million more than we had at the beginning of COVID. We've grown. That's the size of the labor force of the whole state of Illinois, which is the 5th largest in the world. And our economy has grown in the last 4 years the equivalent of the entire gross domestic product of France. So we've grown France, which is the 7th largest economy in the world, in the last 4.5 years. So this underpinning is actually a basis for stability in the U.S. economy. So we think that it's going to work on that and move forward. Now, people have overreacted, in our opinion, to this idea of the tariffs. And let me take a second here.
Yes.
Economists will tell you that free trade is good. Well, what they really mean is that reciprocal free trade is good. But if the parties aren't doing it openly and one party has an advantage over another, that's not reciprocal free trade. So when you think about a tariff, you've got to think about a tariff differently. A tariff is the equivalent of a sanction. It's a sanction that's unilateral. It can be highly focused, very specific on a particular product or company, and that sanction enters an economic benefit to the sanctionor. And I think that that's very important. So if you think of tariffs as sanctions that can be very focused and unilaterally imposed, that's really an important thing because you can laser down what you're really trying to do. It's not like you're trying to get 50 countries together to sanction somebody. You can just do one. And what that does is it gives the president, I mean, President Trump has found his weapon of choice. And his weapon of choice is a tariff. And hey, I'm a soldier. I like tariffs better than troops. And that's an important thing. So if he's found his weapon of choice, he's been able to use it for policy reasons. Talk about the president of Mexico, right? They've actually made policy changes. The president of Colombia, president of Venezuela. So the important thing on the tariffs piece, to tie a bow around this, is we've had tariffs before. During the first Trump administration, he imposed tariffs. The world did not come to an end. Global trade did not stop. Things did not go wrong. And as a matter of fact, the tariffs that we had on China, the Biden administration continued on with many of them. So I'm not terrified of tariffs. They are a policy tool that can be highly effective and also generate economic value to the United States. So I think if you think about it that way, people shouldn't overreact. These are the first salvo in a series of negotiations that will be helpful for the U.S. economy in the long term.
Great, but everything has a negative sometimes impact. Did you see any negative impact and how we can overcome it?
I think tariffs don't immediately raise prices dramatically or inflation. People get worried about, oh my gosh, we're going to have a lot of inflation. So what will happen probably in our estimation is you're going to see some uptick in some commodities and some products. That's usually about 18 months in duration, because if you take a look at, say, companies that are buying from China, in 12 to 18 months, they move their supply chains to some other country that's not being that doesn't have tariffs imposed on them. So there's other places that we can find, or this manufacturing and stuff comes back to the United States. I mean, Apple has decided to build components here. A lot of companies are coming back making huge investments.
So I think this is good for America.
In this country.
Yes.
And it's good for American jobs, and it's good for America. So I just think that people should recognize these things take a little bit of time. Breathe. It's going to be okay. You're going to be in a good situation, and it's good for the country that we're generating jobs here.
And see what he means by reciprocal tariffs.
Reciprocal?
Reciprocal means
What's reciprocal means?
It means if you
she has to translate for me sometimes because I usually that's true. Exactly. I'm sorry.
I am sorry.
Okay, because he speaks like an economist. I'm going to try and make it more into simple verse. Yeah. Okay, reciprocal means if they charge 10%, that we will charge 10%. That means we're charging the same.
So it's the same.
It's the same. Right now, for example, Europe charges 17% VAT, but we don't charge that, right? So if we just charge them the same, then it's not so bad.
Yes.
Right? And so President Trump is constantly saying that they're taking advantage of us because they do charge a lot more, and frankly, they need us more than we need them because we are the biggest consumer. We buy more than any other country.
Yes.
So so there's going to be a give and take.
Yes.
One thing I could tell you is that the market and people adjust to everything. It's always, any change always gives the country a little bit shock, or gives people, anytime you have a change, there's always a certain period of adjustment. But on the long run, if we can use tariffs to our advantages, and because there's no tariffs that if things are made in the United States, this is why, like he was saying, Apple is now building. It's going to spend $500 billion to build factories and to make
$500 billion.
$500 billion over the next 4 years to build more of the iPhone here, so that if it's built here, there's no tariffs, right? Yes. So it will actually bring more jobs into the United States, but it takes time. It just takes time to get adjusted. When President Trump put the 10% tariffs on China the first time, they said, oh my gosh, that's going to be horrible and all of that, but it wasn't, and it gets adjusted. And sometimes when you have tariffs, the consumer absorbs some of it, the companies absorb some of it. So it works, it's going to get worked into the economy.
Yes.
But it's an adjustment. And I think in the long run, if we can use tariff to reduce taxes for the people here, then that would be a very good thing, because if you're paying less taxes, then you have more money to spend. And the way our economy works is, our economy is built on what we call consumer spending. 70% of our economy is based on consumer spending. The more people spend on products and services, on companies, the more their profits go up. So if you give people more money to spend, then they will have, then the stocks would go up. And it's good for the people that own these companies, and it's good for the economy. So it's not
Don't
such a
panic.
bad thing, but it is going to take a little bit of an adjustment period.
Okay. So you hear it from the experts, and actually we see you. Congratulations about 2025 Forbes.
Thank
You
you.
are number 1 female on California, in all California, and number 6 female on
Five.
5. Oh, 5 now.
Number 5.
Okay, congratulations. Every year you're coming closer to the 1.
In the whole country. I'm
But
number
you are
5.
number 1 to all Egyptians and Arab, Laila.
Thank you so
So
much.
I don't care if they said you are number 5, you are number 1. Okay, so that's amazing. So it's actually a good thing. So it was a wise decision from the president to do the tariffs, do you think?
I think it's the most effective way that we can level the playing field and put American business on a more even keel with our foreign competitors. And if you give American businesses a level playing field, a good solid set of rules, they're very imaginative and they're very innovative, and they're going to compete and they're going to win. That's what we've done for hundreds of years. So I think that this is a highly effective way. It's probably not the perfect foreign policy move, but I don't think there ever is one. So I think that the most important issue for us to recognize is you give American commerce a level playing field, we're going to do exceedingly well. And the president now has a good weapon system to influence policy of foreign countries. Like I said, it's his weapon of choice.
Yes.
And I kind of prefer tariffs to troops.
So one thing, كلمة حتى بالعربي
اتكلمي.
تعرف هو الجمرك.
الجمرك، يس الجمارك.
هو جمرك.
الجمارك.
كل حاجة داخلة بمصر بتدفعوا فيها جمرك.
Yes.
وبعدين مصر ما بتدفعوش تاكسز كتير عشان هم مصر بتاخد فلوسها من الجمرك.
Yes.
بس الجمرك يعني احنا أول مرة أمريكا هتبتدي تعمل جمرك على شوية حاجات.
Yes.
ومفروض بس كل العالم وكل الدول التانية عندها جمرك، وعندها جمرك كبير قوي.
Yes.
فاحنا بس يعني لما هم يعملوا لنا جمرك، احنا كمان في امريكا لازم نعمل جمرك.
جمارك.
ايوه
Is a place.
جمارك ايوه كده.
Whatever she said.
Whatever. He agrees on everything.
So يعني it's something Egyptians have lived with and know all the time.
أيوة صحيح.
And like Dryden said, making the same playing field. Like we're not ever gonna charge tariffs like the rest of the world charges. But
Okay.
some tariffs is good. Plus, he's also using tariffs to help have these countries defend the borders,
Yes.
like Mexico, and keep fentanyl from coming into this country. That's something that kills a lot of Americans. So he's using it as a way to get some countries to also help him do the right things for the United States. Now, I'm sure it's going to have some adverse reaction into some things, but it will adjust.
I think the important thing to recognize is that when you impose a tariff, it certainly raises the price of the product from the foreign country.
Yes.
So it's leveling things out. But generally, suppliers will move from one country to the next. So it may take 9 to 12 months to move a supply source from China to Indonesia, Mexico,
not an
Vietnam,
easy thing.
or back
take
to the United States, right? So
Yeah.
go to a different country that maybe is not having the tariffs imposed. And again, you remember that the tariff can be very, very specific with regard to a product or a time. So these are just opening salvos in a negotiation, and I think that's the
what
thing.
salvo is.
An opening move in a game of chess.
Okay, but
Let's
this
do it
is,
that way.
Yeah, but this is a very huge move. We have to move from China to somewhere else, or we can just be friends and work together.
if they get the pricing right, I mean, they are able to negotiate around what makes sense for everybody.
If Vietnam could have the same product or different other country.
So we're going to go there.
You could go to a different country.
There's different countries
I think
that do.
we will have lots of offers.
There's different countries, but also China could adjust. And because they support many of their industries.
I think it's important to recognize that the United States has buyer's leverage. We have consumers leverage. We're almost everyone's biggest customer, right? And when your biggest customer is wanting a price discount or wanting to make some, you tend to listen to them.
Yes.
And because this is the thing that's important, people forget. We're still significantly the largest economy in the world. The 330 million people in the United States are a bigger economy than 1.4 billion people in China.
Yes.
And so we're more productive, we do things with a bigger scope, and I think that we have to recognize that we have buyer's leverage. And if they want to sell to us, they need to be in a position where they're competitive, where we're competitive with them and they're competitive with us.
Okay,
it's fair.
So we need to relax and everything will be all right, I think.
Exactly. I can say one thing. Relax. It's going to be okay.
Take a deep breath.
Because when I see like the France president and China are very terrified from what's happening, we get terrified as well, right?
Well, I think they have more to lose than we do.
Oh, that's why they need.
They need us more than we need them.
Yes.
And I think that that's the key point.
يعني الجمارك يا جماعه مش حاجه وحشه، ما نخافش، الاقتصاد هيكون دايما منتعش، وكفايه هم معانا اكيد الاقتصاد هيكون منتعش. We have a phone call from Mr. Mike Leon from New York.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mira. It's a great interview, and I agree with the speakers regarding the tariff. But I have two questions. What do you think about Dodge and all this layoff, how it will affect the economy? And the second question, under President Trump and the current economy, what changes are you making in your clients' portfolios right now to avoid the volatilities? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mike.
Let me address the first question he had was about Doge.
Yeah, that's an important question.
I think unfortunately the United States government spends an incredible amount of money.
Yeah, billions of
and
dollars.
It's not very efficient and it's quite wasteful.
Correct.
And people have been talking, the question that I always get from people is, oh my goodness, what are we going to do about our tremendous federal debt? And this is the first real activity and the first real serious attempt in decades of going in and cutting some of the wasteful spending. Now, cutting wasteful spending is probably going to hurt those people that benefit from wasteful spending, and they're going to be upset. But the American taxpayer is going to benefit in the long run from us having a much more efficient spending pattern in the United States. I mean, we're just scratching the surface on recognizing millions and millions of dollars that have been being wasted. And these are taxpayers' dollars, and the taxpayers are hardworking, and whatever they don't pay in tax, we've got to borrow in debt. So while some of these initial cuts may be dramatic and frightening for people and things like that, it is medicine we must take. And it's the first serious attempt at really balancing the budget. Because there's only two ways to do it. You're either going to raise taxes a whole lot, which is probably not a good thing, or you're going to cut spending. And so they're going to work on cutting the spending. So I applaud the effort. I'm glad they're serious.
Also, you have to remember, there's still 1.4 jobs available for every person looking for a job. So there's plenty of jobs out there. So, and they're giving them a certain amount of time and a certain pay. There's plenty of other jobs that these people should be able to do and go to. So it's not, it'll be absorbed.
The United States creates more jobs than any economy. I mean, think about it. Not only do we create the jobs here in the United States, but we're creating the jobs in China and Canada and Mexico and everywhere else, right?
Yes.
People that are government employees that get laid off will probably be able to find adequate employment in the private sector. And that's actually a good thing, because private sector employment has a higher opportunity to help the general overall economy. So that's a good thing. You had asked the caller.
One more thing.
Please go ahead.
I want to say, if they're able to reduce the deficit, we have very high interest rates right now. The interest
Correct.
rate payments on our debt is more than what the government spends on defense. If they're able to reduce the deficit, then the competition for borrowing the money will be less, and actually that will drop interest rate. If they can drop interest rates, that will help real estate. It will
Yes.
help people, buy homes. It will help our economy. It will have a dramatic effect if we can reduce our deficit. And
it's coming
and like
higher.
Dryden says, there's only two ways. You have to cut spending, or you have to raise taxes. So and there's a lot of waste. The government has gotten so big and so much, and he's going in and cutting. Now, some of it will probably be a little harsh, and they'll have to go back and adjust. But it really, in the long run, if he can actually reduce spending by $1 trillion, that would be a tremendous feat.
And do you have any expectation for soon, like they're gonna do that?
He's working
Reduce-
on it. That's his promise.
Things are happening right now. I mean,
Because it's
they're
higher, I think. The
they're
interest
beginning-
rate is higher already.
Actually, if you look at the 10-year rate, it's gone down. It's gone down.
On the interest rates.
Yeah, the interest rate is already going. It's gone down just the last couple of weeks.
Really? Okay.
Yes, long-term rates. If you look at mortgage rates, have gone down the last couple of weeks,
Okay, that's
and
a good news.
and the 10-year rate has gone down.
Okay.
And you want to address the second question, Dryden?
Sure. The second question was, what do we think all this volatility in the stock market is going to be? First of all, the volatility that you've seen recently is a drop of maybe 5%. We have 5-10% drops in the stock market all the time.
Yeah.
You get a 10% correction at least probably every 18 months. So what you're seeing is nothing more than a normal to and fro within the market. We always say take advantage of volatility, don't be its victim. So we look for good companies to buy. But I want to address something that is really important here. Last year, the stock market went up 20%. But that was driven by 7 companies, what they called the Magnificent Seven, the more
Correct.
tech, heavy side of that, your Apples, your Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla, Facebook, and Amazon, I think. So all of those companies, they went up dramatically. The rest of the market did not.
Yes.
And so what you're seeing right now are the indexes that are what we call market cap weighted. So this is where if the higher the price, the bigger the piece of the index you are. So you have 7 companies that were driving the indexes higher. Well, they've gotten overpriced. And so they're coming down, and as they come down, they have a bigger effect. But reality is that the rest of the market, the 493 other stocks within the S&P 500, and the whole rest of the market are actually doing well. And you're seeing an increase in earnings. Earnings are what drives the stock market. If earnings are going to go up by 10 to 12%, chances are the market's going to do that. And so
Profits. Earnings.
last year we had 7 stocks driving the market. This year we're going to have 493. And so as you see this volatility, it's actually getting
up.
stronger over time, and
Okay.
so I would not be we're not overly concerned about it. Volatility is normal. It's just going to spread out. So a very diversified portfolio, looking to more value positions in the portfolio, will serve people well going forward.
but some of these 7 companies, people put their face on it, and they invested a lot of money, and the past 2 weeks, people lost lots of money. I know, I met a guy yesterday, he lost over $200,000, and he have no hope right now. And he want to ask you, do you think all this money will recover, or what should he do right now?
Well, first of all, and is the important thing to know is this is why diversification is important.
Very
the old
important.
adage, and I don't know what the Egyptian equivalent of "don't put all your eggs in one basket" is,
Yeah.
but
Is there such
but-
a word in
but-
Arabic?
Yeah, ما تحطش كل البيض
So you-
بتاعك في سلة واحدة.
Yeah, but the issue is, first of all, you need to be broadly diversified. Don't bet on one horse. Don't bet on one thing.
Yeah.
But if
ما
you
تروحش في
did,
مكان واحد.
if you did, you weren't one of our clients, but if you did, what happens is the companies, those 7 companies, I don't think you have to be overly worried about. They're not going to go out of business.
Okay.
You're going to be in a
They'll come back.
situation you just
They will be
you
back.
need they'll be back. You just need to wait. This is a normal market
Yeah,
to
I
and
know.
fro. So I just think that, but there's a lesson for your
Yeah.
friend, is that you need to diversify your portfolio so that this doesn't happen again. But whatever company it is that you have had this massive volatility in, I think you just have to be prepared to wait. And over time, those companies, those 7 companies, are going to make more money. Their stock price will recover over time, and you'll be all right.
Do you have
And
any
the most important thing,
expectation?
Mira, is that when something goes up like that, you have to what we call rebalance.
We balance.
You have to take a little bit of
some
profit
money.
off that,
Yes.
right? But you don't sell it all. This is what a good
Yes.
advisor would do for you, or you could do it for yourself if you are disciplined. You have to shave off some profits,
Yes.
okay, and go into something else that has not done as well, that could potentially do better, because nothing ever goes up all the time forever.
Yes.
And people, we call that, adaptive expectation. People, they look at something that's going up and they think it's going to go up forever. But that is not the case. The way you have to diversify, like Dryden says, and you have to rebalance. You have to take some profit from those things and go into other things so that you don't see them go up and down and say, why didn't I sell? Right? You have to sell when it's high. Take off a little bit and rebalance.
Now, this is an interesting thing that we've learned in 30 years of doing this business. Almost anybody can tell you
What to
something to buy.
Yes.
They'll say, "Okay, you got to buy this. Everybody has a hot tip, whatever it is." But who tells you when to sell? And
Right.
that's what's important.
Only you.
That's what's important.
It's a discipline. You have to have a disciplined
You have
approach.
to have a strong discipline about what you're doing.
Right,
and
because it's
disciplined approach.
emotional. It's very emotional.
We get emotional.
Right? People
and
don't want to sell when they don't want to buy when it's going down, and that's when they should. And they don't want to sell when it's going high, which is when they should, because it's just very emotional. When it's going up, you keep buying more, and when you sell, when it goes down, you don't buy.
But I want to go
'Cause
back
it's
and be
emotional.
fair. I want to go back and be fair to your caller, your friend who had this
Yes.
happen.
People are panicking.
You're where you are. There's not a lot for you to do about it. But if you're in one of those companies, I don't know what company he was in, right? So if you're in one of those 7 companies, those are large companies that have long, deep balance sheets, that have long track records. You may have to wait a while
right.
and to
Patience.
get back
For
to,
how
to
long?
where you are.
Just to give
That
me
is
I
really
can't tell
hard
you.
to say.
Can't tell
I mean, you can't say, but I think this is the thing that's important. The price of a stock is made up on, does the company make money? So are you making money? And if you're making money and you're making more money and you're making more money, then the price of the stock is going to eventually get better. So I think that the lesson for your friend is they need to have a diversified portfolio. The other lesson for your friend is that now you're where you are. The
Don't
smart
panic.
thing to do is not necessarily to panic. These 5% movements or 10% movements
Very
are the
normal.
normal to and fro of the battle of the market. There's nothing fundamentally has gone wrong with the American economy, and as long as there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the companies, I think they just need to probably wait it out, and it could take a little while, but it's not a reason to
panic?
To panic.
Okay.
I remember one thing you asked earlier about Trump, and what he's going to do. The biggest thing that's coming is
Taxes?
the taxes.
Yeah.
It's a huge, huge thing. If he's truly able to do the 3 new things that he's talking about, which is to eliminate taxes on Social Security. There's 69 million people in the United States that collect Social Security.
Yes.
Okay, California does not tax your Social Security, but the federal government taxes 85% of your Social Security. I had a client today that I just met with, and I figured out if they eliminated taxes on his Social Security, he would have $18,000 more in his pocket because he doesn't have to pay $18,000 of taxes.
Yes.
And he's already told me if that happens, he's going to go on a trip to Africa that he's been wanting to do. So people, when they save money in taxes, they turn around and spend it.
Yeah.
And when they turn around and spend it, they spend it on companies, and those companies make money. When these companies make
And your
money, their
economy
stocks
will
go up.
be- Yes.
Right?
You give an American money, they're going to spend it. That's our national pastime. It's called retail therapy. People shopping therapy. they
Egyptians
go out
too,
and
by
get-
the way.
Yes, exactly. The other tax thing that potentially he could pass is no taxes on tips.
Okay, yeah. That's
This,
what was
and
a
then
big
no
one.
taxes on overtime.
This is a big one.
And of course, extending the current Trump tax law will be very beneficial. So lower taxes, and one of the ways that he's going to be able to lower those taxes is also by tariffs, right? Gumruk.
Yes.
So he's going to be able to have that to give the average American person more money to spend in their pocket or to save for their retirement or to put their kids for education and so forth. And all those things will help our economy. Remember, his philosophy is America first.
America first, of course. So we have a 4-year, bright 4 years coming, right?
Not without volatility.
Right. But I think what's interesting when we talk about historically, it's kind of funny to think about. The first year of a new president, the stock market tends to go up. The first year, the first term of a new president, the stock market tends to go 13.7%.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
The first year of the second term of a president, it tends to go up 9.7. So the big question is this the first year of the second term, or is it the first year of the second term itself? So because you had a year in between, right? So the difference
4
is
years.
4 or 5% of the stock market. It'll be interesting to see how that comes apart.
Okay, I am very happy that you are optimistic. Thank you
Yes.
so much. So, Miss Leyla, we have some pictures actually. I love always to share some picture for Leyla and Mr. Dryden, please. عندكم شوية صور نحطها. It's a kind of a break.
Okay.
اوكي اتفضل. صورة جميلة من فوربس. اوكي. ليلى جميلة. اوكي. اللي بعدها يس. يس بليز. ايوه.
President Bush. President Clinton.
It's Clinton, yes. Oh,
President
رئيس السيسي.
Sisi.
برافو. تحيا مصر. اوكي. Top woman. Wealth advisor. اوكي. وعندنا ايه تاني؟ rank 3. بس دلوقتي انت الاولى، هي الاولى دلوقتي في كاليفورنيا. دي صور قديمه 2020.
2020.
شوفوا بقى من 2020 بقت دلوقتي رقم 1. اوكي. وبعدين دي مستر درايدن in one of the biggest media platform. Also we have Mr. Dryden and we have Mr. Dryden. You're very you're on Fox News all the time. Is it weekly?
Usually a couple of times a month. So,
couple of times a
Fox Business News, CNBC,
Nice.
Reuters, Bloomberg,
Of course.
and then Schwab has their own stations as well.
Yes, so we have the best, of course, the financial experts here. Thank you so much. So, Ms. Leyla, I want to go back and ask you about how to safeguard your portfolio. I love this picture. This is my favorite picture. You were in Egypt, actually.
That's right.
I love this picture.
Thank
It
you.
has its own charming.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
وإيه تاني؟ pencil management. كان في صور تاني. Okay, so how to safeguard your portfolio?
Well, you have to include what we call fixed income bonds. Okay, there's bonds that are paying 4.25% or 5%. There's also there's many other fixed income. So there's stock market where you're an owner of stocks, right? You're owner of a company. That's where you make the most money and you have the most volatility and you have the most up and down. But there's other types of investments in the market. There's places where you lend money to a company and you get a certain rate of return. Okay, so and there's also where you can lend depending on how big the company is. That will tell you how much interest they will give you.
Thing. This is very advanced. You cannot just do it on your own.
Yeah, no, you can. There's bond funds on your own, and there's also there's ones that are more advanced. If you want higher return, they're a little bit more advanced. But just in the market, you can go in and you can buy what we call bonds. Okay, where you're lending Apple money, you're lending Amazon money instead of owning them.
Yes.
Okay, and they pay you a certain interest.
They pay you interest.
And then if interest rates go down, like we think it will over time, because we think inflation is going to get better and the Federal Reserve is going to get lower rates. And if that happens, then that bond will actually go up in value. So there's other ways, but the most important thing is what we talked about earlier, is to never put all your eggs in one basket. You have to diversify. يعني ما تبقوش ما تشتروش شركة واحدة أو 7 شركات، لازم تشتروا.
بس like Mr. Pence, he said it's 480 companies and we're gonna be lost. Like which one is which? It's very hard.
لا مش لازم تشتروا ده كله، ممكن تشتري يعني 50 شركة بدل 7. ممكن 75 شركة.
Yes.
يعني المفروض يعني احنا عندنا فلسفة ان احنا ما بنحطش اكتر من تبع البورتفوليو 3% ل 5% for
each company.
عشان لو حاجة حصلت للشركة دي it doesn't ruin your portfolio. وبعدين لو واحدة نزل وواحد تاني طلع بتعمل افريج. يعني خصوصا لو انت قريب للريتايرمنت وكده you have to diversify. وطبعا يعني تبص على الشركات we have to do some homework ان انت تبص الشركة دي فعلا الحاجات اللي بيبيعوها يعني the products and services, are they products and services that people are going to want to own and buy? It's very, very, very important. And if you need to get familiar. One of the new things today that are changing the world is artificial intelligence.
Yes, AI.
AI is going to change our world. And this is something that, if you look at what the internet was many, many years ago, we think this artificial intelligence is going to change the world, something similar, if not even more. Want to talk about that, Dryden?
Let's talk about that a little bit. So there's two pieces of AI. There's AI, the infrastructure, right?
Yes.
And
explain what that is, what infrastructure is.
There's the pieces of it, the components of it, the chips, the data centers, the hardware, right?
Yes.
And then there's AI, artificial intelligence, the implementation, the companies that are doing things. So, I think, depending on your audience knows a lot about U.S. history, we built, and also in Egypt you would have, you build a railroad, right?
Yes.
And you lay the track. That's the infrastructure, right?
Of course, yes.
And the trains are part of the infrastructure. But it's everything that goes on top of that once it's built that drives economic activity. And so right now, what you're seeing is we're just putting in place the machinery of AI. We're just putting in place the chips, the enablers. It's beginning.
The tracks.
So it will be more advanced.
Yes, now what's next, and I'll come back to this in just a second. Now what's next is the implementation, and we call that AI plus H. AI
يعني تستعمل
plus
ازاي؟
a
تستعمل artificial intelligence ازاي؟
Yes.
مش كفايه بس ان انت تبنوها، لازم استعملها.
يعني هيكبر بعد كده ولسه هيعلى.
The next wave of this are going to be the companies that use artificial intelligence to increase what we call labor productivity. So that instead of, let's say you spend $10 an hour on something and you get 5. You add AI to it, you can spend $10 an hour on something and you get 25. And therefore, you begin to see this increase of labor productivity, and that's what makes profits. And I think there's a question I ask people a lot of time. If you think of the last 150 years, what's the one invention that increased our ability to do things more than anything else?
Yes, internet?
The answer is the light bulb. Because before you had a light bulb, people could only work in daylight.
Yes.
And so now
Or
when
candles.
you add the light bulb, now people could work 24 hours a day. People could multiply how often they could work, what they could do more. And so it really changed the world in how we could have economic activity. And I'll
right.
submit that AI today
Is the light bulb?
is the light
Light
bulb.
bulb.
Wow.
It's the
That's
light
how big.
That's
How
how big.
This is
Huge.
how big.
And it's just who's going to turn it on. The big thing is, are humans going to turn it on? And that's
Got
why
it.
we
I
call
thought
it AI plus.
productivity is how productive, the same amount, can you produce so much more
Yes.
with the same amount of effort. With artificial intelligence, you can have the same effort. Instead of getting one time what you produce, you can get 20, 50, 100. So it allows the productivity to be a lot better. So a company doesn't have to spend as much money on labor to have those products because they can have a machine do it.
I'll give you an example.
Yes.
150 years ago, it would take 100 people to farm 600 acres of cotton.
Yes.
Now there's a tractor that can do it with nobody there.
Yes. And
It
the
goes
list time.
600, it goes to 100
gosh.
down to
Actually,
zero.
yeah.
Because now John Deere has a tractor that's completely robotic and autonomous. So when you think about those changes, it's important. When you go from 5 people to 1 person, that's a 20-time increase in labor productivity.
But you will find a comment, someone saying, so 100 people lost their jobs. So how are you going to
But they
answer
find
this?
other
But
jobs.
remember that you had the same argument when we had the agriculture. All those people
Yes.
that were actually picking cottons and all that.
That is the problem.
Now we have a machine. They found other jobs.
They found
and they
jobs.
even found better and more. There's
Yes.
always more and more job creates.
You
You can
can-
say that when they had the horse and buggies, what's going to happen to all those people, right? Now, when the cars came,
Yes.
Yeah,
they
they
found
found
another
more work.
jobs.
There's
Yeah.
always more work. There's always more innovation. There's always more to do. We have a shortage of labor. We need
People
more
have to-
workers.
yeah. I think change is scary sometimes, and people have maybe
Yes.
worked in the same job
have to
for
go through the
50 years or
labor,
30
yeah.
years or whatever. But we have to look at the economy as a whole, and when you do that, generally they move from job to job. They find something else to do. It takes a little time,
Yes.
but our economy creates more jobs than anything in the world.
Yes,
and we have still a relatively low unemployment rate, and I think it's just how mobile are people and how willing are they to try something new. And new is not bad. New's pretty good.
Correct. I always actually remember a saying you told me actually, and I tell all my friends that anyone has a problem, I tell him, Mr. Dryden told me, the tunnel is full of fire. You have to run quickly, quickly, quickly because there is a light
At the
At
end.
the end
and
of
you're going to
the-
be saved. So don't ever worried if there is problem in your life or in your country. Can you say it your way, please?
Well, yeah, there's a lot. Basically, don't get stuck in the tunnel, right? When you're going through a tough time, don't camp out. Go through it, and that's important. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Keep moving. When you're going through a hard time, keep moving. Don't stop. Don't camp out. Keep going.
Keep going.
And that's how it gets better.
Yes, great. So, Miss Lila, I see in our culture, or Egyptian, or Arab, or anyone, like I meet wealthy people, I meet moderate people and simple people, and most of them, not some of them, most of them, they don't have any retirement plan. So, I am sure you met these cases before, and you still meeting them. So when I see like a surgeon, he tell me, no, I don't have any retirement plan. Imagine. So can you tell us, please, or convince us to start a retirement plan? And what is the best age? Is there like a cap on the age?
So the most important thing about retirement plans is the sooner you start, the better. Because the effective compounding interest, okay, the longer money is there to grow, the less you have to start with. If you wait until you're much older to say, because a lot of people say, well, you know, I'm busy right now. I have to buy a house. I have to feed my kids. I want to spend money on this. I'll have more time in the future to start. And they wait and they wait and they wait.
Yes.
And that's where the problems. The most important thing, you know, any job right now, most jobs, the state of California has required companies, even if they have one employee, to have a retirement plan. The requirement is going to start next year. Right now, if they have 5 people, they have to have a plan. So pretty much starting next year, every company must have a retirement plan. And if you work for yourself, you can set up your own retirement plan. And the amazing things about retirement plan is that the money that you put into, you get to deduct it off your taxes. So it's a wonderful thing. The government wants you to put money away for retirement.
Yes.
So and when you're young, like for my daughter or things or kids, I always say you want to start with a Roth IRA, or even just to do an IRA. Better, Roth IRA is better because the money you put in grows tax-free. You don't get a deduction for it, but it grows tax-free, and when you take it out, it's tax-free. And I look at tax-free compounding as the 8th wonder of the world. I think it's the most important thing. If anytime you could put your money, have it grow tax-free, and you take it tax-free, it's amazing. And the younger you do it, the better.
Yes.
The minute you start working, I tell my clients, if they even have their kids or their grandkids, if they make $2,000, you can open up a Roth IRA and put $2,000 for them. You know, and then they could put as much as $7,000 in a regular IRA or a Roth IRA.
Yes.
So my advice is to take advantage of 401k plans that are available through your work, take advantage of a Roth IRA, take advantage of IRA, and then if you work for yourself, you can set up your own profit sharing plan. You can set up a defined benefit plan where you could put as much as $250,000. If you make a lot of money like a doctor, you can put $250,000 and deduct it off your taxes.
Wow.
You know, but if you have employees, you have to put money for them as well. But there's a lot of retirement plan. The government really wants people to save for their retirement, and that's why they're forcing businesses to have retirement plans. You can no longer have employees and not have a retirement plan available for them.
Absolutely.
And you either do it yourself or there's a plan through the state of California that they are that they force you to go into.
So there is lots of opportunities, but maybe we don't know. Just we don't know, right? We have to go and
Right.
Yeah, people, they say if we put our money in retirement plan or stocks, we might lose it, something like that. What do you think?
You could put the money in a retirement plan, and if you're very conservative, you could buy bonds, or you can even put it in a treasury bonds or money market or something. It'll earn something now that we have interest rates. And I believe over the long run is to have a balanced plan. If you're very conservative, you could put 50% in stocks, 50% in bonds. And so you diversify. But if you have a long a long time horizon, you really should have a bit more into stocks, because without the stock market, America would not be what it is today. It's the fact that we have a stock market and that we have companies that employ people, and those people that are employed have money and they spend money. So, you know, as you know, one thing, President Trump is always looking at the stock market. He wants the stock market to do well, because it affects pensions, it affects businesses, it affects what people think. And that is very, very important. So my advice for those of you who is to start by putting some into the market. Don't put everything, but put some in the market, put some, but have a retirement plan. And the earlier you start, the better. I can't emphasize that enough.
I think there's two things. First, we say this a lot of times, is pay yourself first. In other words, when you get to the end of your month, or you're looking at your income and stuff, always start with putting something away for you,
for the future.
You know, and people say, you know, it's a 10-10-80 thing, where you tithe 10% to the church, you put 10% in savings, and you live off 80%. Okay. And that's
are you agreeing with this saying? With this percentage?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's very, I think it's very, very true. And I think that but you should make sure that you pay yourself first. And I think people need to have perspective. They're frightened and they're scared and they go, oh, I don't want to lose money. But it is the nature of things to grow. And it is, when I first got into this business years ago, I had a Fortune 100 CEO as a mentor, and he sat down with me, and we were actually sitting on a fence and looking at a herd of cattle. We were at his cattle ranch, and this was in Arkansas. And he's sitting there with me. He says, you know, if you're going to get into this business, I want you to do this. And we were sitting there, and I'm a young man. He's an old guy. And he says, I want you to look at that herd of cattle, all these cows out there. And he said, you know, if you put a bull with all those cows and let nature take its course, sooner or later you get more cows. And then when he looked at me, he said, God and nature are long. Long means it goes up.
Yes.
So the world and nature and we're set up to grow.
Yes.
Our nature as human beings, our nature as a nation, our nature is just, we're set up to grow.
Yes.
And if you just give the natural course of human existence,
don't panic,
time, and don't panic, you're probably going to end up with more cows.
Inshallah. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. اوكي ليلى، احنا عايزين برضو بيفور ان احنا نقفل، عايزين في صورة لسيرا انا كنت حطها نسينا نحطها. عايزه اقول لكل ما اشوف حد يقول لي I am fan of Sarah fans. يا روحي اموره يا ناس.
عشان بتغني في ليلي زمان.
لا هم بيحبوها، هي جميله.
ليلي زمان جاي في ديسمبر 7.
Yes, December 7th.
في بيفرلي هيلز. سبان سيرا. تعالوا اسمعيها، هي بتتكلم عربي حلو قوي.
Yes, اشطر من مامتها.
اشطر، بتقرا بتكتب.
تقرا وتكتب. Few languages actually, not only Arabic.
Yes.
French too, and I think Greek.
Spanish.
Yes,
and Greek. Five languages.
5 languages, yes. وعندنا صور ايه تاني؟ صور. The lucky guy، مسمياه the lucky guy عشان هو اخد صورة معاكي.
عارفة مين ده؟
I know. كلوني.
جورج كلوني.
Yes. مين تاني؟ عندنا صور ايه تاني؟ ميرا.
Yes.
Thank you.
The real star.
Thank you. You are the real star. وايه تاني؟ خلينا نمشي بسرعة في الصور، اوكي؟ كان في الصورة الأخيرة سارة اوكي، أنا مش عارفة بعتها لك ولا لا، هما الثلاثة مع بعض، مش عارفة هي موجودة ولا لا. اوكي.
شفنا ده already.
شفنا الصور دي. طيب دايما you give us like a very inspiring message. فأنا عايزة واحدة منك in Arabic and one from Mr. Dryden in English, please.
أهم حاجة أقول لكم إن فعلا يعني أنا عايشة what they call the American dream. وكل واحد منكم ممكن يعني إحنا ربنا يعني أنتوا هنا في أمريكا وفي فرصة كبيرة قوي إن كلكم تنجحوا وتكبروا. لازم تعملوا الحاجة بقلبكم وتساعدوا الناس ودايما يعني أهم حاجة إن أنتوا have positive attitude.
والأمانة.
الأمانة طبعا مهمة جدا. and يعني surround yourself with positive people. مهم قوي إن الناس اللي حواليكوا كمان يبقى positive وتحبوا ربنا وتساعدوا الناس وإن شاء الله كل حاجة كويسة. إحنا الحقيقة مبسوطين قوي إن ترامب يعني هيبقى إن شاء الله هيبقى كويس والبلد هتبقى كويسة وفكروا في أمان ولما تشوف الحاجة تنزل وتطلع ده is normal. دي حاجة يعني لما الستوك ماركت بينزل دي opportunity is not a bad thing. وحاولوا ان انتوا have some discipline وان شاء الله كل حاجه كويسه وهكون معاكم السنه الجايه ولا الدور الجاي.
In 3 months you're gonna be here in 3 months. Me and Mr. Dryden. Okay, we miss you all the time.
حاجة تاني إن شاء الله.
Okay, thank you so much ليلى for everything. أنا طبعًا هقول لك شكر في الآخر على الموفي. عندنا موفي 40 days وليلى كانت أول واحدة ساعدتنا فيه. بس Mr. Dryden, I need a message of hope and an inspiring message as well from you.
Sure, I think that it's important for people to realize that the United States of America has a very solid rule of law. We've got the fundamentals of our economy, and the system works. and there's a lot of changes that we've got to do. We've got to clean some stuff up, but the most important thing to do is breathe. It's going to be okay. We've lived over half our lives with interest rates of over 4%. We lived over half our lives with inflation rates of 3%. Things have worked out reasonably well. And so I think the most important thing for people to do is don't panic, breathe, go out, live your life. It's going to be all right. And we have a system that works. Markets adjust, prices adjust. You know, human beings go do what human beings do. We shop. We have our families,
yes.
We work, and all of that is an engine of the economy that continues to chug through all the challenges people throw at it.
حقيقي وربنا ما نساش حد ابدا في الحياه. Thank you so much Mr. Dryden, and actually عايزه اقول للناس على الموفي. Finally الموفي هيبقى May 30th. So I came thank you. So I wrote that movie وبعدين رحت للمخرج بيتر تاكلا وبعدين اول ما ابتدينا طبعا كنا عايزين دعم. اول حد فكرنا فيه مس ليلى بنس بصراحه. هي اول حد ساعدنا في الموفي. فممكن نبص على البوستر بتاع الموفي. عايزه اقول لها thank you great thank you مننا. والموفي هيكون May 30th يا جماعه في الاورنج كاونتي وجون 1st and جون 2nd هيبقى في لوس انجلوس. ممكن نشوف البوستر. انا انت ما نزلتش اي صور؟ الصور ما جاتش. طب انا عايزه اقول شكرا ليكي، وطبعا المنتجين الثلاثه للموفي هو انتي، وطبعا في حد تاني اسمه استاذ وائل نظمي برضو عايزه اشكره جدا لان هو منتج الفيلم، وطبعا ميديا افنيو بيتر تاكلا. وان شاء الله الفيلم ده بيعالج المشكله بتاعه الليجل immigrant، ومصر كانت جزء last year from this problem. For first time in our life, Egypt was involved in the illegal immigrant to USA through 7 countries. And Lila actually, she believed in the story and she supported us. Thank you for Wealth Management.
Well, I can't wait for the movie. I am so excited about the movie. I'm going to put it in my calendar now, May 30th.
May 30th.
I'm so proud of you. This is quite an achievement. Mira, you're amazing in every way. What you do here in this program every week and the kind of information you give people, and you're always supporting any Egyptian events that happen. I always see you there. You're taking videos and pictures. You're always promoting Egypt, and you're always promoting the Arab country. And I'm always happy to assist in any way I can because I believe in what you do and what CSAT does. And inshallah, it's going to be a great success, and I can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much. كل حاجة أنت بتعمليها صحيح، أنت صحيح ورا كل نجاح في أورنج كاونتي الإيفنتس وفي لوس أنجلوس. شكرا ليكي، ربنا يديكي كتير يا ليلى على قد قلبك الحلو.
شكرا جدا.
شكرا جدا ليكي برنس ويلث مانجمنت، نورونا النهارده، واتمنى اني اشوفهم كمان 3 شهور علشان يبقى في شويه. Do you think in 3 months the stocks will be like, you know, any good news?
Sure. I mean, again, this is a small correction, and the earnings for this year are projected to go up about 10% for most companies.
Okay.
So I wouldn't.
It will be up and down.
I wouldn't be overly worried.
Okay.
Companies are going to work. They're going to make money, and the markets will probably work through this. We think the short answer is we think at the end of the year.
Okay.
The stock market will most likely be higher than it is right now. So we're positive on this year, and we think that you just kind of. I think we think it's a positive year.
So I know how busy you guys are, but it's a promise. Any changes in the market stocks, you guys come back here.
Inshallah.
Okay?
شكرا جدا.
شكرا حبيبتي.
Thank you so much.
أعزائي المشاهدين أنا بشكركم جدا. أنا مبسوطة جدا النهارده اتعلمنا وكمان ارتحنا شوية، يعني الكلام اللي هم قالوه ريحنا. الإيكونومي طالع هيبقى كويس جدا ومحدش يقلق، والحاجات اللي بتخسر دي هتطلع تاني، محدش يقلق برضو، ربنا حافظ عليكم. الاسبوع الجاي معايا محاميه انسة دي من نيويورك، هنتكلم على الاميجريشن لاws بقى وكل التشينجز، فاتمنى ان انتم تكونوا معايا يوم السبت الجاي. ربنا حافظ عليكم وعلى بيوتكم، واشوفكم في حلقات جايه في اسال مع ميرا. باي باي.